Hello, game week. Figured we'd hop on here for a little bit. It's not going to be the full show, but it is game week of the UFL. So we figured we'd come on for a bit, do a little quick Q&A. If you saw our commercial, you know Springball Boulevard is set to come back for season 2. Of course, I'm Matty Fresh. With me is the producer and director and the owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, tonight. And we thought we'd come on and say hello to our viewers, any new UFL fans out there who might have caught us on Twitter. We're going to be taking the show off of just YouTube and putting it on both YouTube, Twitter, or X, as the kids call it now. We're going to be on Facebook as well. So multiple opportunities to catch us. We're going to keep our podcast feed up on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or really wherever you get your podcast. And yeah, we wanted to come on and test some things out, make sure all the tech's running right. And while we're at it, why not take some questions from you guys? It's UFL game week. I got a couple of questions in my DMs throughout the day. A couple of things. Chase Garbers named the starting quarterback in San Antonio. A little surprised. Quentin Dormady not getting the nod there from A.J. Smith. The UFL just dropped a trailer, and it kind of went through. It's on their official Twitter right now. Kind of went through the teams in like a casual way and gave little snippets and little storylines and things that you might want to know if you're gonna root for the UFL. They, of course, because Fox is producing most of the media for the UFL this year, they went with the USFL teams in the lineup first. It was cool. It was a cool little trailer. I thought it was weird that they didn't include the beer snake. I think it's like the easiest thing you could sell when it comes to UFL and tradition, and they didn't really mention anything about AJ McCarron. They had him on there, but didn't mention him by name. But we're nitpicking now. It's cool to see little things like that, little trailers, get fans involved here. And, you know, everybody wants to pick a team. It's pick a team season. And for Chris Zook, if you saw our commercial, he's still riding with the Seattle Sea Dragons, although they are temporarily defunct. Zook decided a few months ago when he was debating whether to become a Battle Dragons fan, which is what we're calling them now because there's so many damn Sea Dragons that moved over in the blue and gray and are going to play in the Dome, headlined by Ja'Cour Pearson, who will sit out the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season. But, yeah, it's about picking a team. That's what I did back in 2020 with DC. That jersey's still there on the wall. DeAndre Tompkins, number 1. He was a wide receiver back in 2020. That's what you do. You pick a team. You want to tell your kids and your grandkids and all the generations of football fans that you were one of the first fans of the team. So, of course, we encourage all new fans to come on and join us in football. Ultimately, that's what we love. Year-round football should have never went away. It went away for a bit with COVID. Now we're back with the merge and the best talent from both leagues. So we're not going to do a full show tonight. We're just going to stay on for a little bit. Please ask questions. If you have anything, we'll answer it here in the chats. We have John Wieland in here saying, Matty Fresh, what's up? What's going on, John? Thanks for joining us tonight. I had a couple questions come through in the DMs. We'll start with those. Walt from YouTube. What's up, Walt? He asked, in year 1, what UFL team needs to prove themselves the most? Birmingham. The Stallions are in a position where they are, I believe, 21-5 in the last 2 years of football. And they've done it with 2 different quarterbacks, but the same staff. Year 1, it was Jamar Smith, the product out of Meridian, Mississippi, where I actually did some local TV anchoring down in Meridian, and Jamar was a legend down there. Out of Meridian High School, went on to play for Louisiana Tech, which is where head coach Skip Holtz found him. They go to a title in year 1 and win it. Year 2, Jamar goes out with an injury week 1. They bring Alex Magoo in. They win it all. You know the story if you're listening tonight, especially. You know about the Birmingham Stallions. But going back to what I was saying, I do think with Walt's question, what team needs to prove themselves the most? I think Birmingham's obvious for me, just because can they do it when it matters most? You know, the 2 USFL championships are great, but right now, and we'll talk more about this on Thursday, we're not going to get too in depth, but right now it feels to me like the XFL has the upper hand. And can Birmingham change my mind, change the mind of a lot of fans who are coming in and looking at these title odds and looking at the conferences? Birmingham is the favorite. So ultimately they have the most to prove, right? If you're the favorite, the Battlehawks came in last year as the favorite, the betting favorite. They did not deliver, did not make the playoffs. Some would have said maybe they're the best team in the league, but it didn't matter because they didn't make the playoffs and they didn't have the opportunity to compete for a championship. Ultimately, that was DC, who ended up being plus 750 before the season. They were like 4th or 5th on the odds board. So it's always the team that's the favorite, and especially in this case, Birmingham. Nate, what's going on, Nate? Nate Rossetti asks, will DC be able to pick up where they left off? Unfinished business. Yeah, that seems to be the motto. Unfinished business. That's the cliche, easy thing to say about our defenders this year. Yeah, still bad memories, guys, as a Defenders fan, of clearly being the best team in the league for 11 weeks. Beating your rival, going 5-0 against your rivals, downing Seattle 3 times and St. Louis twice. And I always think about what, and I know I'm gassing him up here, he's going to love this. I always think about what Zook said when we were doing our title preview show last year about, was DC potentially getting too comfortable and how would they play as a huge favorite? You know, you'll never see a championship game in this league again. That's going to be like, I think it was a 9.5 point spread, just a massive spread. And that's what happened. It was the typical David and Goliath type of thing where you see it in March Madness all weekend. These teams get real comfortable and they don't get ready. And I think DC has a huge chip on their shoulder going into this year because of that. Can they pick up where they left off? They do have 28 players back. That's the most in the UFL. So that's going for them. A lot of these teams, complete roster overhaul. So they kind of have that chemistry going, as does Birmingham. Yeah, of course they can pick up where they left off. It's the same staff. They did lose a wide receiver coach and a tight end. And the skill positions are very different, which we're going to get into Thursday. But ultimately, the goal for DC is an undefeated season and a UFL championship. And it's crazy to me that Birmingham is the favorite. I'm shocked that DC isn't. That the odds didn't move at all when Abram Smith got hurt. I figured DC would lose a little bit of steam and maybe you'd be able to get a better price when Abram Smith went down with his ACL, but that was not the case at all. DC stayed the same. So, yeah, I think they can pick up right where they left off. Thanks for the question, Nate. Again, not doing a full show tonight. Just a couple more questions I'll take. We're here on YouTube, Twitter. We're on Facebook as well. We're going to go all 3 platforms this year. So you guys can ask any more questions. We'll probably be on for a couple more minutes. I got another one that I thought was interesting in my inbox from Brian. He asks, what are your top 3 strongest team position groups in the league? So this would be like a unit that could make a difference. The ones that come to mind are the Defenders' offensive line. And not a lot of people want to give offensive line credit. But the number 1 rushing attack in the XFL last season had a lot to do with Abram Smith and Fred Keiss scheming it up. But more to do with those hog mollies up front. And the good news for DC fans, 3 of them back in DeMarcus Hayes, Liam Fornadell. And there's another one back on the right side of that offensive line as well. Name is slipping my mind right now, but 3 starters back. Mike Maietti, the center. That's who it is. I think that DC offensive line can make a difference. Another one is the St. Louis receivers. That's that's the one everyone's going to say is obvious. You got Darius Shepard, Hakeem Butler, Marcel Aitman back, the top 3 options. If you keep those guys healthy, you got Peasy coming back in 6 weeks off his knee injury. And then you had Jerome Kapp, who was just recently with the Jets and was a star of Hard Knocks. Like, what a receiving core. And don't forget Jamarcus Bradley and Jeff Thomas. They did cut Steven Mitchell. Zook's guy Blake Jackson in the slot. Like, it runs very deep. And you know that's what AJ fought for. If AJ was going to come back to the league, it was a checklist of things that he was going to demand. And he was going to go out and get some receivers. He was going to go out and get Brandon Silvers to hold his clipboard. That's his buddy. That'll be a good quarterback room. Silvers is a very good backup. And tight ends look good. So, I don't know. St. Louis might throw it 90 times a game. I don't think they're going to run the ball. They did get Wayne Gallman, though, so that'll be interesting. And another group. Who's another strong position group? We said DCO line, St. Louis receivers. Probably go something on defense. Let's go San Antonio front 7. I'm not going to – I kind of group the edge rushers in here with the linebackers. I think they're one of the 3 strongest units in the league. I mean, you think about watching the XFL last year and how good the Houston defense was. They led the league in sacks. And how good the San Antonio defense was. Arguably the best linebacker in the league with Jordan Williams. He was real slept on. Led the league in tackles. It just did it all. He was all XFL. And now you add Tavante Beckett. You add Delonte Scott to that mix. Tim Ward, recently cut from DC. I think San Antonio will go back and forth with DC for that front 7 as the best front 7 in the league. I mean, this front 7 for the Brahmas, though, is going to be a nightmare for quarterbacks. Delonte Scott, Tim Ward, Wyatt Ray in there, Tavante Beckett, Jordan Williams. I mean, and even the big nose tackles. Kavion Patton over from Orlando. He was all XFL last year. So that defense is absolutely going to be for real. We'll take a couple more questions. Again, only staying on for 10 or 15 minutes tonight. Just to answer some questions and let you know we'll be back Thursday with a full episode. Breaking down everything, guys. We're going to have everything back. And we can actually give you even like sort of a little teaser of like some of the things that we have back in the show this year. Obviously, we're going to do our best bets every single week. Zook and I will be hitting the books, giving you a couple plays for what we think. And we're not just going to give you the plays. We're going to break down the plays and give you the edge, offense versus defense on every matchup, position groups. We're going to have it all. It'll be the number 1 betting analysis that you can get in the UFL if you choose to bet on totals and spreads. We're also going to add a little DFS into the mix this year. We have the People's Gambler coming in for us, and he is going to give us a player to start, a player to sit, and a player to sleep on every week for your DFS contest. So that'll be in the show this year. We have our tour back. We're going to call it the Battle of the Brands Tour. This year, we're going to go to 6 different UFL cities around the league. That's going to be fun. Of course, all the interviews that you guys love. You get to hear from coaches, players. Last year, we got some special guests on, like Mike Ryan of the Levitard Show. I'm sure he'll want to hop back on with us. But the real kicker for us this year is we're going to join you Sunday nights for a live studio show here at Studio Z. And Zook and I are going to channel our Tom Jackson and Chris Berman from back in the NFL primetime days. We're going to do a throwback highlight show. And I know the UFL, ESPN came out with one. It looks really cool. UFL Today, that's going to be hosted by Scooby Mazega and Dan Dopp over there at ESPN. They're going to go on 6:30, I think, every Sunday night. So we'll get on here Sunday nights, and we'll do a full breakdown, and it's going to feel like you're you're a kid again watching NFL primetime when we all loved watching that show on a Sunday night. We're going to give you all the UFL highlights. It'll be fun. And then Zook and I are going to talk about all the games and react to them and see how our best went. And that'll be available on pretty much all our platforms. But yeah, that's I mean, we're going to do a poll every single week. Our Boulevard Power Poll will come back. And yeah, that'll pretty much be it for us this year. I'll take, like, let's say 2 more questions. Somebody asked, which teams will see the biggest jump in attendance? That's San Antonio for sure. I think Texas is all about winning football and winning culture. And if you know the Roughnecks culture and you know what they were able to do last year in the first half of the season before the wheels kind of fell off, you know that they got a solid staff and a solid group there, and that will reflect in their attendance. Great facility. Who else? Arlington, I think, is another one. If I'm going to say Texas loves to win, yeah, Arlington will be right up there as far as a jump in attendance. I'm not going to say St. Louis and D.C. because the bar is already set, and D.C. sold out their last 2 or 3 games. St. Louis, like, when you have 40,000, 35,000 coming every week, how much higher can you really go? We'll see. That's a challenge for Battlehawks fans, see if they can get to 60, 65K one day. But as far as, like, the first week, you're definitely going to see a lot more Renegades fans out. They want to defend that championship. It's also pretty cool that opening day over at Globe Life Park where the Rangers play. I think first pitch is at 6 Central. So if you want, you can go to the Renegades game, check that out, leave, tailgate a little bit, walk right across the street, get a drink at Texas Live, and hop right into Globe Life. Why not? Go 2 for 1. The XFL opener last year didn't coincide with baseball. This year, the UFL gives the Rangers and the Renegades a little bit of overlap, so that could be cool. I think more like local markets should think about that. Like the Cardinals with the Battlehawks, the Nationals and the Defenders are very close. That could be pretty cool to market, cross market. So yeah, we'll go San Antonio, Arlington. I can't think over the top of my head anybody else that's really going to see a significant increase. But stay tuned for St. Louis. If that team comes out and they start, I think they play DC week 5, so they have a chance to start 4-0 before they get their first loss. But yeah, if they start 4-0, maybe the dome fills up. Thank you everyone for hopping in tonight. I guess I'll take one more. Why not? Again, just a quick Q&A tonight. Jumping in, saying hello. It's game week. We're pumped up. We couldn't stay off. Zook and I were here testing out some things, and we said, why not? We'll hop in live and come on here and answer a few questions. This was kind of a 2-parter rule question I got earlier today. The first one was, why didn't the UFL change the playoff format? Equal merge, I think, is the answer to that. It's hard when you're Jerry Cardinal and Eric Shanks sitting at dinner in 2021, which is actually what great article from Sports Business Journal came out today detailing kind of how all this went down with the merge. And we learned that in 2021, Eric Shanks, who's an exec at Fox, had a dinner with Jerry Cardinal a few days before the USFL championship game. It actually might have been, I guess, 2022. And they had talked about the potential merge, and they had talked about, even before this, when Vince put the league up for bankruptcy and The Rock wanted in, Danny Garcia wanted in, there was this kind of back and forth of like, if we do this, what's it going to be like? Well, it has to be an equal merge because you have execs from both sides and you got to meet in the middle. The obvious thing for fans is to put the 4 best teams in the playoffs. We have the same debate in every other league. It's always going to be that last team left out that has a problem. Last year it ended up being the Battlehawks, and we'll never know if the Battlehawks made the playoffs. Would they have won a championship? I couldn't tell you. But this year we're getting 2 USFL teams and 2 XFL teams, and they just needed an equal merge. I mean, you weren't going to convince them otherwise. Once the league really combines and becomes more unified, which honestly, like, I don't care if it does. I like the USFL versus XFL vibe. I love the rivalry. We read a quote from Vontae Diggs of Memphis, who said a couple weeks ago that the XFL guys think they're better, and quite frankly, they're not. That came right from Diggs' mouth. And this is what we love to see. This is football. We don't need this. It is the United Football League, but we don't have to act like it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like that, they're going to get after it in week 1 in some of these crossover games. But when it comes to executives, they play ball. They're business people. And it was an equal merge. And I think the second part of that, he asked, why is the XFL kickoff being talked about at the owners' meeting in the NFL, but it's not in the UFL? This is purely speculation. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, but I think it was a rules draft when they really sat down and got into the details of the merge, where the same way they did a dispersal draft of players, the executives and maybe even some coaches and the higher ups sat around and went one by one and just went to both sides and said, what's the rule you care about the most? In my opinion, for the XFL, it's the overtime. The shootout style overtime that Sam Schwartzstein developed back in 2020 that ended up in college football and should be in the NFL after what we saw in the Super Bowl was a disaster. Time running out on the clock. We're not understanding what's going on. What's going to happen if the time ran out on Kansas City? Are they just going to go into another quarter? Is the overtime period end? Do we do another coin? It was a disaster. The shootout style overtime needed to stay, and it did. But the kickoff is what they sacrificed. For whatever reason, the USFL was hell-bent on this kickoff. And this whole, the XFL is going to be this big test for the NFL rules. I feel like people kind of overlooked that and just said, they won't actually do anything. No, they did. There was 2 things. It was the 4th and 15 play, which is actually going to stay, but they're going to cut it to 4th and 12, which is wild. The 4th and 15 is something that the Eagles owner, Howie Roseman, or he's the GM, right? The owner's Jeffrey Lurie. So the GM, Howie Roseman of the Eagles, voted for the 4th and 15 play to be implemented as an onside kick alternative. He didn't have much agreement among GMs, but you never know. In the future, they might adopt that. But the kickoff is something that every team, we've been hearing a lot about it on the McAfee show, was kind of on board with, and all the special teams coaches came together and sort of agreed on it. Now it's being talked about at the owners' meeting. So it is weird. To me, it's kind of backwards to have the NFL talking about your rule and then you're not going to use it in your league. I get it that the UFL wants to get guys to the NFL, so you want the rules to be the same. But I don't know. I'm kind of for the other side. I like developing new rules in this UFL. What do you have to lose? Why not? The 4th and 15 onside kick alternative is now a 4th and 12. It's 3 yards. I tell you, it makes a world of difference. There is going to be more conversions, and that changes everything. It's much different when you ask any receiver on an option route what their route tree looks like. When you can get to the sticks in 12 yards instead of 15, that opens up a whole nother ball game for that play call. And I cannot believe, I feel so bad for the defensive coordinators in this league that not only if you've built a 9-point lead, you have a 1-possession game, which we saw matter at times last year, but now you have a 4th and 12 play in the 4th quarter when you're trailing. So keep that in mind when it comes to betting lines. All right, well, we wanted to hop on and say hello, like I said. Springball Boulevard returns on Thursday night. We're going to bring you a full breakdown of all the Week 1 games. Of course, we're going to have some plays for you. Zook and I still have to talk all about the merge, all about the new rules. We gave you a little taste in the Q&A tonight. I appreciate you guys asking questions. That was cool. There were some really good questions there. Appreciate the engagement as always. And yeah, go check out that trailer that the UFL just dropped. Go check out our commercial, our trailer for Springball Boulevard Season 2. That's up on YouTube right now. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel under Matty Fresh, and we'll be right in your Twitter feed, your X feed, your Facebook feed. We'll be wherever you go this year. You'll get to see my face for radio and maybe even some of Zook's ugly mug if you're lucky. For now, we'll say goodbye, and we'll come back Thursday, and we'll get 48 hours away from the best weekend on the sports calendar, where you're going to have Sweet 16 and Elite 8. You're going to have UFL kickoff, and you're going to have a NASCAR race too. Don't forget, the boys are racing. Probably some other things going on. The NCAA women's tournament has been fire lately with Caitlin Clark. So big sports weekend coming up. We're going to get your UFL slice of the pie and deliver it to you hot out of the oven. I'm Matty Fresh. Thanks, Chris Zook, for producing tonight, and we'll see you back here Thursday night.